Hey guys, tonight we're joining camel guards in 14th century Anatolia, where sand gets everywhere, and your survival depends on remembering three things. Water beats gold, never trust a still horizon, and well, you probably won't survive this anyway, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and current time below. Let's see who's braving midnight downpours versus desert dawns. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Twilight stains the plains blood orange as 13 men slump off saddle-weary camels. You smell rancid butter clinging to their saddles, a common caravan trick to soothe chafed hides. Historians still argue whether the Silk Road's true currency was spices or gossip about Mongol haircuts. The lead guard's brass kettle strikes a rock-sharp clang, scattering jackals into thorn scrub. Firelight transforms his ringed fingers into shadow puppets, reenacting some Byzantine tragedy. One kid, barely beard-grown, pries off a boot to shake out pebbles. His toenails gleam blue-black, a rarely documented practice, crushing indigo for foot fungus. You catch murmurs about Samarkand's taverns, stolen melon wine, a merchant's daughter who danced with scorpions. Embers pop like breaking knuckle bones. The oldest man unrolls a rug so moth-eaten, moonlight leaks through. Silk Road traders actually slept on felt. Those fluffy museum carpets are pure Hollywood. He arranges dented cups in a crescent, 3 for friendly pilgrims, 4 declares war. A jackal's howl oscillates between mourning and laughter. 3 men instinctively touch sword hilts shaped like owl talons. Someone drags a stick through coals while humming. Is that a 9th century toothpaste jingle? Archaeologists found lyrics for Mintan charcoal dental tunes in a Baghdad trash pit. The melody tangles with the kettle's rising wine. Steam curls into something resembling Taurus, or maybe a pregnant goat. Depends how much caravan you've chewed today. A guard named Hassan mutters the forgotten second verse of a Turkmen watering song. His breath smells of pickled turnips, standard trail rations. You notice his left thumb's missing. Folk stories claim seasoned guides traded digits to outsmart debt collectors. Reality's less poetic. Dysentery mishaps during squatting. The fire hisses as fat drips from skewered jerky. Camel drippings, technically, save the mutton for bribing border officials. Stars emerge, not the twinkly kind, but hard white coins pressed into velvet. The constellations here reject Greek names. Orion's a runaway slave. Cassiopeia's a tax collector's hooked nose. A wiry guard plucks lice from his armpit hair. Each snap punctuates a curse. They've all got that rash. 20th century researchers recreated caravan lice diets. Turns out they preferred Armenian sweat to Persian. The aroma of dung-fueled flames pairs oddly well with cardamom-infused steam. Suddenly, silence. Even the camels stop groaning. Far east, a dust spiral writhes like a drunk cobra. 9 hands grab scimitars. 10th century, no local smiths. The khurasani steel craze won't hit for decades. Someone chuckles, just wind devils. Relax. Fingers unclench. The scribe's reed pen resumes scratching inventory lists. You spot the youngest guard sneaking honeycomb into his waterskin. Beekeepers back then wouldn't believe our plastic bears. They buried hives in limestone tombs to harvest at night. His gaze lingers on the northern horizon, waiting for a courier who's 20 days overdue. A lover who can't read maps. A drunk muleteer starts a tale about a 2-headed parrot. It cursed 3 empires. Slurred details ruin the punchline. Medieval animal curses peaked after bad tax seasons. True story. The kettle screeches. Black tea boils over, thick globs hiss into ash. No one moves to stop it. Your eyes burn from smoke. Someone tossed on leopard dung for protection. Zoologists found big cat scat in 80% of caravan fire pits. No leopards here, old trick to scare off hyena packs. The wind shifts, carrying a metallic tang. Iron ore deposits. Distant bloodshed. Just a copper trader's lost earring. Flares paint the southern sky, probably just a village wedding. Or bandits coordinating attacks. Guards debate tipping the tea with opium. Actual historical fun fact. Genghis Khan outlawed intoxication before battle. These guys clearly skipped history class. Hours blur. The North Star fattens, that's your cue for dawn, right? Nope. Atmospheric refraction fools travelers into rising 3 hours early. Chewing sour plum paste helps. The ritual fails. Stars smear into silver lint. One man peels a blister, whispers the Marineford adventure story his wet nurse sang. He misses the hero flies with eagle wings verse. Ornithologists confirm eagles never migrated here. You don't correct him. Camels belch in unison. A sign even the beasts grew tired of symbolism. You kneel beside the fire as calloused hands crush cardamom pods against stone. Each crackle echoes the jackals, arguing over yesterday's scraps. Tin cups clank like mismatched armor, a ritual older than the Egyptian king's tomb. You passed 3 moons back. Remember the cinnamon trader who swore spices traveled farther than prophets. He wasn't wrong. This bruised cloves once budded in Zanzibar's volcanic soil. Steam ribbons twist into the Sagittarius constellation. Or is it a scorpion? Depends who you ask. The brewmaster adds a pinch of salt, an old breath-freshening trick Balkan shepherds taught him. Historians still argue whether caravan tea rituals began as spiritual acts or just ways to mask rancid well water. You'll vote for the spices. Someone tosses juniper berries into the flames. They pop like tiny firecrackers. Keeps scorpions away, lies the youngest guard, grinning through caterpillar-thick eyebrows. The truth, Bedouins used juniper smoke to preserve leather and hide the scent of smuggled frankincense. Your first sip tastes like armor polish and nostalgia. Don't grimace, they'll start calling you the delicate diplomat again. The tea pourer's scarred thumb accidentally dips into your cup. A blessing, he swears. You notice he avoids drinking his own brew. Smart man, laughter erupts as a jackal pup steals a wool sock. Coins change hands, betting on how far it'll get before the thorn shrubs claim their tribute. Mint leaves unfurl in your cup like fortune-teller palms. No one mentions the dregs, forming an arrowhead shape. The fire dims. Fingers drum on kettle sides, 3 beats fast, 2 slow. A code from Cappadocian mercenaries, or someone's attempt at a love ballad. The debate dies when stars mirror the steam patterns too perfectly. Even the jackals hush. Someone hums a shepherd's tune about lost goats and found goddesses. You count 12 verses before realizing it's just the same line repeated. The brewmaster tops up your cup. This round smells of apricot pits and guilty secrets. One guard murmurs, "It's the arsenic hour." No one asks him to explain. The elder's hands block out the firelight, his knuckles knobby as desert acacia seeds. He drags a thumb across the Milky Way's haze. This dust trail. His voice rasps like a saw through tamarind wood. Our great-great-grandsires called it Hapila's sandspill, said the moon chariot overturned here every winter solstice. His pinky taps a cluster of stars. Camel's eye blinks twice before true dawn. Watch close now. You squint until your vision blurs. One guard mutters about needing olive oil for his eyes. The elder ignores him. 2 blinks mean water within a day's ride. Unless it winks once, then dig your grave early. A snort comes from the opium addict. My uncle swore that eye's just a sty-riddled old nag's socket. The elder's palm slaps the ground. A dried scorpion carcass crunches under calluses. Your uncle traded rotten dates to Roman road builders. What's he know of skylore? Historians still argue whether desert zodiacs guided navigation, or just comforted lonely guards counting watch hours. You notice the elder's star map doesn't include Orion until he spits toward 3 bright points. Smugglers' jewels, steal those, and your guts become kite strings for vultures. Someone throws more tamarind roots on the fire. The smoke smells like fermented peaches. The jewels guard Darius's lost silver hoard, a scribe insists, wiping ink stains on his beard. The addict mimes vomiting. Darius, please. My cousin found that stash back in '83, bought a brothel in Antioch. The elder's index finger, the nail split down the middle, stabs at a faint star. There, lodestar of forgotten oaths, make pacts under its gaze, and he lets the warning dissolve into a wheezing cough. The scribe finishes his thought. And you'll haunt caravans for 9 generations. You blink. The stars seem to pulse in time with the addict's ankle bells. Camel's eye remains stubbornly unblinking. A guard with a chipped front tooth reshapes the myth, claims the Constellations, a pregnant mare. Her foal kicks at midnight. Miss it, and your horses go lame. The elder exhales sharply. You city boys butcher the old ways. Stars aren't pets to rename. He rubs his thumb and forefinger together, a gesture merchants use when haggling over mule prices. Lodestar's twin died when Alexander burned Persepolis. Now it pulls the sky westward, dragging time itself. Silence blankets the group. Even the opium addict stops fidgeting. The mainstream history lesson clicks in your mind. Roman trade edicts from Caracalla's reign mentioned these celestial references, though they called the camels I Equilius Asinorum, the donkey's foal. A jackal howls. The elder's face softens. Enough lecturing. Here's truth. He scoops sand into a crescent shape. Stars move. Stories don't. You. His coffee-black eyes find yours. Saw the jewels flicker when that opium fool mentioned Antioch. The sky remembers liars. The addict goes rigid. Before he can protest, a shooting star etches the heavens, gasps all around. The elder chuckles. Relax. Just Tiamat's daughter combing her hair. She drops diamond pins when suitors annoy her. Someone hands him a teacup. He swirls the dregs, not looking at them. My grandfather met a star once, or maybe it was Bad Cat, claimed it smelled like burnt honey, sang Sogdian wedding hymns. The scribe scribbles furiously. You catch the words, stellar halitosis, before he snaps his ledger shut. Firelight catches the elder's earlobe frostbit in the 99 winter freeze. If campfire tales hold truth. He traces a new constellation. Only he can see, finger quivering, like a compass needle lost north. There, he whispers. No one dares ask where. The dunes sigh in his stead, shifting under a heaven stitched with boastful myths and cautious stars. Camel's eye finally blinks twice, but you're the only one counting. The dagger's rhythm syncs with your pulse. Tap, 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 tap. The young guard's knuckles whiten around the hilt. They say silk thieves grease their feet with bat fat, he mutters. Firelight glints off his blade's serrations, makes him silent as shadow puppets. The tea pourer, a man with salt and saffron streaks in his beard, sets down a dented kettle. His voice rasps like gravel under a camel's footpad. Silent steps mean nothing. Listen for the bells. He swirls steaming liquid into a cup. Every thief in Erludenes wears bronze jingles on their ankles courtesy of the bathhouse guilds. Someone snorts. Bells. That's like dancing with a tambourine at a sneakery contest. Ah, but that's the trick. The tea pourer taps his temple. They ring only when the wind dies, a lullaby to trick drowsy guards. You ever heard jingles in a sandstorm? Exactly. Historians still argue whether these phantom bells existed or just sprang from guards' insomnia-haunted minds. You strain your ears, nothing but the fire's crackle and the addict's wheezy snores. The chip-toothed guard rolls his eyes. I'll believe it when I see 10 torches approaching northwest. Wait, all heads snap toward the dunes. A dozen flames bob in the darkness. No, 2030. Fireflies, the elder grumbles, not looking up from his star charts. Mating season makes them swarm like drunk minstrels. The group exhales. The young guard resumes his dagger tapping. The tea pourer nudges a cup toward you. Drink. Blackthorn root and thyme won't stop thieves, but it'll sour your blood, makes you taste terrible to jinns. You sip. It's like licking a burial urn. That's the spirit, he winces. Poor choice of words. Shadows deepen between camels. Mainstream history creeps in. You recall those 3rd century Lycian tax scrolls describing anti-theft bells, though they were tied to pack mules, not criminals. The opium addict mumbles through his stupor. Thieves rub scorpion venom on their blades, makes wounds close slower. The scribe pauses mid-note. That's absurd. Venom coagulates blood. Not desert yellows, the addict slurs. Their sting lets moonlight through your veins. Everyone inches away from him. The elder traces a constellation overhead. Thieves or not, this sky's stolen enough for one night. He nods to the Milky Way. See those missing stars, robbed by Anzu the stormbird, while Enki was busy inventing hangovers. The young guard's dagger stills. What if the real thieves are our own shadows? We've been sitting here an hour. Where's yours? You glance down. True enough, the firelight leaves you strangely silhouette-free. Thick-headed as a Hittite battering ram, the tea pourer kicks sand over the flames. New shadows leap wildly. There, happy. Now they're possessed. Good luck sleeping. The chip-tooth guard unholsters his flintlock. Who cares about shadows? Last full moon, Hassan's turban unraveled mid-raid. 40 feet of linen, thieves used it as a getaway rope. Laughter ripples through the group, nervous, and a half-beat too loud. The elder mutters about children playing war, but you spot him checking his own shadow twice. Wind stirs the dunes into serpentine shapes. A distant clink, everyone freezes. Caravan bell, the elder declares after 3 strained breaths. Bull's pizzle, hisses the tea pourer. That's Turkish steel on Roman chainmail. The young guard stands, dagger raised like a conductor's baton. I'll scout. Sit, hero. The opium addict doesn't bother opening his eyes. Your heart beats louder than a Cappadocian wedding drum. They've heard you already. Silence falls like an executioner's hood. Even the camels hold their breath when the clink comes again. It's clearly a bridal's charm 3/10 over. The tea pourer refills your cup. Here's a truth as old as dirt. Fear fakes more noises than a one-man band. Drink up, it's just bitter root and false alarms tonight. Stars wheel overhead, indifferent to the drama below. Someone hums a Thessalian lullaby, badly off-key. The young guard's dagger resumes its staccato rhythm. Tap, 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 tap. Your shadow finally appears, but you swear it's half a breath behind your movements. The goat hair blanket rasps against your jaw, coarse fibers dragging like 100 tiny claws. You pull it higher, inhaling wood smoke and something older, a scent of burned myrrh from last season's caravan raids. Across the fire pit, a guard shakes out his own bedding. Roman soldiers swore these scratchy bastards warded off fever spirits. Shook 'em 3 times eastward before sleeping. he demonstrates, unleashing a storm of dust motes. Blessed be the flea-filled legacy of Caesar. Someone tosses a date pit at him. The elder mutters about wasted piety, but you notice his blanket already faces Mecca. Your nostrils catch muted layers beneath the smoke, sour milk, rusted iron, dried apricots dissolving into sweet rot. Historians would kill for this noseful, a 3rd century spice root captured in wool. The merchant who wove this probably died cursing Sasanian tax collectors. But hey, free historic immersion. A breeze carries off the stink of camel dung. For half a breath, the air tastes clean like crushed thyme between teeth. Then the addict's fig paste breath ruins everything. They're not just blankets, he slurs, picking at his frayed edge. Goat hair absorbs dreams. Unravel a thread, and you'll see 'em little nightmares knotted right in. He holds up a strand, it glints copper in the firelight. This one's mine last night's vision. 3-headed mule lecturing me on tax evasion. Everyone shifts away. The scribe scribbles furiously, probably updating his will. You turn your cheek against the bristly weave. Faint humming begins across camp, a lullaby with salt-crusted edges. The melody sways like a fishing boat, a seaside village relic carried 600 miles inland. That's from Sinop, the tea pourer says, scowling at his empty kettle. Black Sea brats learn it before they walk. Means something like, sleep, or the crabs will pinch your toes. A sand-gridded laugh. My sister sang it during childbirth. Kid popped out clutching the midwife's dagger. True story. The humming fades into coughs. The elder clears his throat, a sound like dice in a bone cup. Historians still argue whether that tune began as a fishmonger's chant or a dirge for drowned lighthouse keepers. He adjusts his star charts, avoiding eye contact. Either way, it's terrible for lulling anything but migraines. You burrow deeper into the scratchy wool. Modern mattress marketers would weep at this ergonomic nightmare, but your spine molds to the hard ground like clay. Some forgotten ancestor murmurs in your blood. This is how we slept when mastodons still roamed. Firelight dances across goat hair ridges. Patterns emerge, a galley ship's prow. A pregnant camel's silhouette, the distinct profile of your debt collector back in Trebizond. Maybe the addict wasn't full of hallucinogenic nonsense. A guard snorts in his sleep, 3 staccato bursts. The addict's head jerks up. Hear that? Owl call. 3 hoots means Yassar's devoured another lizard. The tea pourer snaps. Sleep, or I'll brew a piss-and-acorn enema for everyone. Silence descends, the tense kind that hums. You count breaths, 14 wheezers, 3 snorers, 1 mystery man holding his like a thief clutching stolen silver. The lullaby starts again, fainter now. You catch new lyrics. Moon's net drags the tides, or maybe spiteful brides gnaw their ropes. Translations, a fickle lover here. Your eyelids gain weight. The blanket's itch softens into a strange embrace, coarse, threads weaving through your thoughts. You're 6 years old again, hiding in a wool-stuffed chest, during hide-and-seek, your mother's voice, muffled through cedar wood. The moths will drink your tears. Smoke stings your nostrils, different tonight. No campfire, but burning olive groves. Siege towers toppling. Memory and dream swap masks, giggling. The last clear thought carves itself deep. This scratch, this smell, this exact instant, you'll ache for it in 10 years. Stars blur above. No constellations now, just a spill of diamonds on black velvet. The hummer's voice frays, dissolves, reignites as the attic's snores morph into a sea shanty. When dawn's first blade scrapes the horizon, you'll find 3 goat hairs plastered to your cheek, each twisted into a perfect question mark. The fire's last embers wink like conspirators as the muleteer leans forward, tea-stained teeth glowing orange. That tomb held no gold, just his hand carves the air, conjuring hidden chambers in the smoke. Walls covered in, how'd you say, sheep pelts dyed with bull's blood, and a floor made of, he snaps calloused fingers, hunting the word. A guard tosses a twig into the flames. Floor made of your usual donkishit tailies. Laughter ripples. The muleteer's mule, tied nearby, urinates loudly in solidarity. Pumice stone, he declares, ignoring both jabs, smooth as a vizier's lies. And in the center, his voice drops to a wheeze. A granite bowl full of teeth. You smell the shift before hearing it, 9 men leaning closer, camel hide boots scuffing dirt. Teeth mean curses. Teeth mean power. Teeth mean the story might actually be worth the flies buzzing around his fermented mare's milk breath. Human, asks the youngest guard, blade honing paused. Too small. The muleteer smirks. Piglets, puppies, maybe traitors. Historians still argue whether the Lycian rock tombs stored heirlooms or served as ancient tax shelters. Right now, you're betting on the guy who smells like a drunkard's pantry. The addict, half slumped over, mutters, molars mean merchants. Canines mean warriors. Incisors, he trails off, mesmerized by his own trembling hands. Incisors mean virgin sacrifices, interrupts the tea pourer, yawning. Get to the treasure, or let us sleep. Fire pops, a spark lands on the muleteer's sleeve. He stares at it like expecting prophecy. No treasure, just instructions. Silence stretches tighter than a bowstring. Somewhere in the dark, a waterskin gargles its last. Instructions for what, you ask, immediately regretting it. His eyes glint. For the Midas Gut. Snorts erupt. Even the scribe snickers into his ledger. Midas touch, you drunken relic, corrects the elder. Not looking up from his star charts, the muleteer slaps his own belly, a hollow drum sound. Touch is for kings, guts for the rest of us, chiseled right there in stone. Eat what the earth cannot digest. He licks cracked lips, so I ate a silver drachma. 37 eyes roll in unison. Swallowed it like an oyster, he continues, undeterred. 3 moons later, Kolak. Out it comes, shining like my firstborn's head. The scribes read, pen freezes. You defecated currency. Profit through perseverance. The muleteer beams. found 7 more tombs after that, 8 clay tablets, emerald nose rings, even his chin slumps to his chest mid-boast. A raspy snore shreds the night. You stare at his open mouth, tongue curled like a dead scorpion. Of course, for 5 years, scholars have begged him to name those tomb sites. Turns out the secret was cheap wine and cheaper decisions. Fire embers die one by one each pop, a phantom, period to his unfinished sentences. The addict mumbles about golden diarrhea. Guards resume sharpening blades, their laughter sharpening too. The elder unfurls a papyrus map, its edges nibbled by moths. Real Lycian instructions look like this. He taps a honeycomb pattern of tombs, weight distribution diagrams. They buried their dead in cliff faces to simplify tax assessments. You squint at the parchment. Those hexagons look suspiciously like beehives. Someone's ancestor definitely took architectural cues from a drunk beekeeper. Wind riffles the map. Flickering shadows turn chiseled tombs into gaping mouths. Every nation carves its dead differently. Persians use towers of silence. Egyptians build spiky triangle headaches. Anatolians, real estate efficiency. The scribe scribbles a marginal note. Ask Byzantines about corpse-based urban planning. A cold draft snakes through camp. You pull the goat hair blanket higher, its itch now a familiar enemy. Across the ashes, the muleteer's mule snores in perfect sync with its owner. 2 creatures shaped by obstinance and poor life choices. Wake him, hisses the youngest guard. What about the other 6 tombs? The tea pourer tests a dagger's edge with his thumb. I could, but his breath's scorched worse than Troy. Someone chuckles. Someone else farts a dissonant chord. You study the muleteer's sleeping face, ravines, and wrinkles mapping decades of desert crossings. His snores hitch, stutter, form half-words. Bastion, he wheezes. Underground river. The scribe leans closer, ledger forgotten. 4 guards silently pivot their bedrolls. Even the elder's star charts flop shut. Owl feather quill, murmurs the muleteer. Writes itself, firelight gutters. Shadows stretch skeletal fingers toward his slack jaw. Then, catastrophe. A jackal howls in the distance. The mule startles awake, braying like a lost soul. The muleteer jolts upright, clockwork quick hand flying to his empty wineskin. Bandits, 17 weapons clear sheaths in a hystile chorus. 5 breaths pass. Only the wind answers, carrying a whiff of juniper and cowardice. The tea pourer kicks dirt onto the dead fire. Your tomb tale needs better timing, uncle. Sheepish grins bloom in the dark. Bedrolls repacked, blades resheathed with theatrical sighs. The muleteer collapses backward, mumbling about ungrateful audiences and cursed wine. His snores resume before your own heartbeat steadies. Dawn's first gray smudge creeps eastward. The scribe lights a tallow candle, reviewing his notes. Lycian tax tombs, Midas Gut, self-writing quills. He glances at the muleteer's drool pooling in the dust. Either the greatest lost history or the consequences of mixing lamb fat and epics. You watch embers fade to ash, each glowing fragment, a deleted word from the muleteer's story. Some mysteries rot better in the dark. Tomorrow's path will bake under a fresh sun, stretching toward horizons that don't care about bones or drachmas. The last ember dies just as the addict whispers, "What if the real treasure?" You never hear the rest, but his grin glows moonbright in the gloom, a private joke with whatever gods still haunt these plains. The addict's moonlit grin dissolves as wings slice the sky, an owl's belly glowing ghost-white against the stars. Someone hisses through clenched teeth. Superstition hangs thicker here than the stink of unwashed saddles. 3 hoots mean bandits, whispers the lookout, fingers dancing across his dagger's pommel. 4 means jinns. 5 means you've had too much blackroot tea, mutters the scribe, pressing a wax tablet to his chest. Guards chuckle nervously, except the one counting under his breath, like a child tallying owed coins. You squint upward. Athena's bird, or so the Greeks insist, glides silently. Funny how wisdom feathers look like death when backlit by the Milky Way. The elder spits into the fire pit ashes. Hittites called them nakashi, soul stealers, but also plague predictors, adds the theologian, scratching his armpit. Find an owl pellet with mouse bones. Good harvest. Lizard skull, flee town. Historians still argue whether Roman augurs actually used owls or just preferred slaughtering chickens. Bigger wingspan, worse PR. The bird banks sharply, its shadow smearing across 6 upturned faces. 2 guards duck. Is that 3? Demands the lookout as the owl vanishes behind dune silhouettes. That's you pissing your pants, snorts the tea pourer, finger combing his beard. His smirk falters when the hoots resume, clean, hollow notes spaced like funeral drums. Who, sand grinds under shifting boots. Who, a date pit cracks between someone's molars. Who, the scribe's stylus hovers mid-account. 3, the lookout stands too fast, scabbard clattering. Form the perimeter, archers to the eastern. Sit down before you scare the camels, growls the elder. Anatolian owl calls vary by subspecies. That's a little owl, no bigger than your boot. Still carries curses, breathes the addict. His pupils, still blown from whatever he smoked earlier, swallow the firelight whole. Persian assassins used their feathers to muffle dagger thrusts, smooth, silent, like slicing warm curd. 5 men instinctively touch their throats. The theologian clears his. Utter nonsense. Owl quills actually amplify certain frequencies. In Ugarit, priests used them as, "Can we eat it?" Interrupts the cook, squinting skyward. Tastes like chicken, I bet. Someone retches. The owl chooses this moment to swoop low, wingtips grazing the lookout's helmet. He yelps, swatting air. Laughter erupts, edged with relief. Noble warrior conquered by a feather duster. The tea pourer lobs a fig at the red-faced guard. Write that saga, scribe. But the scribe's busy examining something in the sand, a regurgitated owl pellet. He pries it apart with his stylus. beetle shells, rodent vertebrae. Ah, all eyes follow his lifted finger. Twined in the mess glints a silver ring, its blue stone cracked. Turquoise, murmurs the elder. Nomad brides wear those. Bad luck to lose one. Turquoise mines once bankrolled entire Mesopotamian trade wars. Now the stone sits there, cradled in owl vomit. Poetic justice, you think, until the addict lunges for it. 3 men tackle him mid-pounce. Sand sprays. The ring disappears under scuffling boots. The owl watches from a lone fig tree, head swiveling a full 180 degrees. You okay? Whispers the youngest guard, but you're not sure who he's asking. The elder rubs his temples. We'll divide watches. 2 men guard the livestock. 2 patrol south. And what about the owl? The lookout's voice cracks. Ignore it. Feed it, suggests the cook. Study its flight patterns for navigational screech. The sound freezes all debate, a rasping cry that unstitches your spine. Far more owl than any desert-bred creature should produce. The theologue's eyes widen. That's an Indian eagle owl call. Their 5 days ride from false owls. True fear. The elder rises, brushing sand from his robe. Move. Now, stiff-limbed, the men obey. You volunteer for first watch, anything to escape their twitchy energy. The scribe hands you the owl pellet, now carefully rewrapped in papyrus. For your collection. Alone, you dissect the pellet under moonlight. Rodent teeth click against each other. None resemble virgins' incisors or merchants' molars. The air tastes metallic, first cousin to lightning, second cousin to panic. Hours bleed. When the owl returns, it brings friends. 5 pairs of glowing eyes line the dune crests, feathered jurors awaiting your testimony. You stay still. Ancient instinct warns that blinking equals guilt. One swoops. Your dagger flashes. The owl veers, skimming your knuckles. A single feather drifts onto your bedroll, one edge dipped in soot black. Seconds later, the addict emerges from shadow. His pupils have shrunk to pinpricks. Use those to ink love letters, he whispers, pointing at the feather. In Damascus, courtesans believed owls carried dead lovers' sighs. He leans closer. Blow on the barbules. If they sing, your true name's etched under Summone's eyelid. You blow. The filament twitches, no song, just the rasp of dry keratin. The addict shrugs. Guess you're safe. Dawn arrives as a stain on the horizon, pink, seeping into indigo. Guards reappear, bleary-eyed. Nobody comments on the feathers woven into the addict's hair. The elder consults his star charts, lips moving through a protective mantra. Somewhere beyond the dunes, camels groan. Break camp, orders the elder. You toss the owl pellet into the cooling fire pit. As ashes swallow it whole, the scribe sidles close. Roads, 7th century BCE. They taxed owl keepers extra during nesting season. Wasted good coin, since the birds ate the grain rats anyway. His ledger flips open. A sketch of crossed owl feathers decorates today's entry. No merchant accounts. Just wings upon wings, endless and overlapping, blotting out the sun. Sunrise bleaches the eastern dunes to bone white as you trudge past a scatter of shattered marble. Fingers, or what's left of them, jut from the sand. Broken columns wear 70 years of dust like poorly woven shrouds. The addict kicks a chunk of frieze carved with pomegranate clusters. It skitters into a depression where floor mosaics still cling to earth. Persian griffins devouring Macedonian soldiers. Seljuk checkpoint, mutters the elder, adjusting his sweat-stained turban. Abandoned when Ottoman taxes choked the frankincense roots. 8 camels could fit in what's left of the courtyard. Now, just lizards and a suspiciously modern bier can wedged between stones. Archaeologists found a donkey skeleton here, says the scribe, with a gold bit still in its teeth, merchant probably bribing border guards. You crouch to inspect the mosaics. Each tessera feels colder than it should, tiny ice cubes preserved under desert sun. Historians still argue whether the griffin motif represents actual war trophies or just artistic license. The addict's owl feathers flutter as he plucks a shard of blue and white pottery from the sand. Istanbul garbage, he declares. 1980s production line. The elder confiscates it anyway. Look, they're waving, shouts the youngest guard, pointing at headless statues along the roadway. Dawn stretches their stony arms into elongated shadows, beckoning or warning. The theologian snorts, just the trade commissioner and his wife. Their faces were defaced during the jinn incident. You trail fingers over weathered sandstone. Names carved by bored sentries bloom under your touch. Mehmet, 1592. Yusuf, 1611. A modern edition. Dylan, 2009. Encircled by a heart. The scribe tusks. Graffiti artists stole 3 kilos of mosaic tiles last fall for Instagram backgrounds. Wind moans through a gap in the western wall. For 3 heartbeats, it sounds like haggling. 20 drachmas for that myrrh. Go milk a scorpion. The words dissolve into static as the breeze shifts. Guards chuckle nervously. Smell that. The cook sniffs deeply. Cinnamon. Still here after 80 years. More likely yesterday's lamb rub, but you hum agreement. Someone hung a goatskin sack over a crumbling pillar. Dates inside gleam suspiciously fresh when no one claims it. The caravan claims diarrhea for 2 days. The theologian rubs lichen off an inscription. Letter 1F00 Nutalia Chi Epsilon Omega Nu, people of Antioch. This isn't Seljuk. It's Hellenistic. His excitement fades upon finding a Coca-Cola logo scratched beneath the Greek. You pocket a nail. Rust flakes off in your palm, revealing Roman metallurgy beneath. Iron from Noricum, best in the empire for not shattering during winter sieges. The scribe side-eyes your theft. That's how curses start, he whispers. Every museum theft documentary begins with "I just wanted a souvenir." By noon, the outpost shrinks in your rear view, a bone pile shimmering in heat haze. The youngest guard hums a pop song. Marble dust powders the camel's fetlocks like cheap foundation. Only the elder looks back, lips moving in silent apology to whatever ghosts still balance ledgers in the rubble. Foundations go down 13 meters, he murmurs as the last column disappears. Dig deep enough, you'll hit Hittite prayer beads and Nokia chargers. Time's a bad janitor, sweeps things under the carpet, forgets where. The addict waves his feathers at a circling vulture. Same vibe, he declares. No one argues. Heat twists the horizon into liquid mercury. Somewhere ahead, drums throb, or maybe it's your temples. The scribe's stylus scratches across wax. Abandoned posts teach this. Stone outlives empires, but not teenagers with spray paint. Sand fills your boots. Each step grinds Roman nails, Seljuk spices, and owl feather barbs deeper into your blisters. You don't complain. Tomorrow's ruins are watching. Cinnamon smoke weaves through the dying fire as tin cups pass hand to calloused hand. You swirl the dregs, watch brown silt dance like ink in water. Tea leaves lied to me once, growls the muleteer. Predicted 7 children, I got 7 hernias instead. Laughter rasps through the circle, 23 men, exhaling decades of bad luck into the night air. The scribe tilts his cup toward moonrise. Ottoman coffee houses used grounds for prophecy, double the caffeine, half the truth. His leaves clump into a scorpion, pincers arched toward the addict's silhouette. 2 guards edge away. Nobody mentions the malformed ring pooling near the rim. Cleopatra's handmaidens, allegedly red bergamot peels, murmurs the theologian. His pinky traces the cup's chipped edge, saw rival queens' deaths in the Rhine's spiral. You squint. The scorpion's tail now hooks westward toward mountains where bandits picked last month's caravan clean. A young guard snorts. My aunt in Izmir saw Elvis in her espresso foam. He prods the third shape, a squat rectangle with a knob. Looks like my first apartment's bathroom door. The elder sloshes his tea violently. Leaves reform into a perfect circle, bisected by a crack. Historians still argue whether Sufi spies coded messages in tea leaf patterns during the Crusades. You're more preoccupied with the door's thickening stem, blotting out the scorpion's claws. The addict's cup shows 3 overlapping rings. His grin reveals herb-stained teeth. Harem fantasy. Wait. The boy who reads salt-crusted letters leans close. That's not a door, it's a lidded jar, like the ones from Sanakale. He refers to last year's dig 19 ceramic vessels containing love poems and rat bones. The theologian's beard quivers. Or the lid of a coffin. Fire pops. When embers settle, the shapes have dissolved. A collective exhalation ruffles the dregs, now just silt dancing on curved tin. The elder upends his cup onto flatbread. Leave the dead to their symbols, he mutters. You notice his fingers tremble, first time all journey. Someone hums a Smyrna folk tune. Wind skims tea-stained cups, carrying the scents of Darjeeling and diesel from a highway 20 kilometers east. The closed door symbol stays unclaimed, though 17 eyes dart to it between sips. Even the stars seem to lean closer. Sleep, orders the elder. No one argues. Cups get kicked toward the fire pit. You cradle yours a moment longer, last drops spelling faint Cyrillic letters, or maybe just cracks in the glaze, the scribe's already snoring. His journal lies open, a sketch of the 3 symbols captioned breakfast menu. Betrayal, marriage, plot twist. Dawn will bleach the leaves to meaningless stains. For now, let the camels chew over the prophecies. Their verdict comes in low, wet grumbles, the desert's oldest inside joke. Your fingers stick to the flask's sweat-beaded surface, condensation defying the desert's oven breath. Bergamot oil bites your tongue before liquid hits, earthy bitterness that makes your molars ache. Across the fire circle, the addict exhales sharply. His shiver looks theatrical, like a bad disco move from those smuggled VHS tapes guards keep rewinding in truck stops. Persian royals chilled wine with mountain ice, mutters the theologian. He rolls the flask between palms that no 30 prayer cycles a day. Caravans hauled snow in straw-packed crates for 900 miles. You almost believe him until the liquid scorches your throat again. Someone snickers. Try selling ice here. Sands to drink it faster than those French tourists guzzle Reiki. The flask moves left. A guard splutters, bergamot mingling with his smuggled clove cigarettes. His shoulders convulse. For 3 heartbeats, the whole camp fears poison. The elder's wheeze cuts through tension. That quince-faced Roman Pliny wrote about frost in Africa, called it the sweat of terrified dunes. His yellowed nail taps the flask. This brew's colder than a tax collector's handshake. 17 men nod. History lessons always land better when framed as insults. You notice the vessel's odd texture, pockmarked clay breathing like living skin. Desert traders used porous jars to cool water through evaporation. That's textbook. The flask's hidden trick, probably stolen from Alexandrian engineers who mastered ice making without electricity, or so the scribe's dog-eared paperback claims. Brain freeze without the snow cone, gripes the youngest guard. His voice cracks beautifully, a reminder he shaved peach fuzz this morning. The addict steals the flask back, gulps like he's drowning in the stuff. Tastes like my ex-wife's perfume, he rasps. Cold as her divorce settlement, too. Laughter dies when the theologian stiffens. Early Sufis believed bitter drinks revealed hidden truths. His stare bores into the addict. What do you see? The flask pauses mid-pass. Campfire embers glitter in its open mouth, a miniature supernova. A jackal howls. The addict's pupils dilate beyond plausible biology. Horse skeletons wearing silk bridles. He blinks. And snow. Actual fucking snow. Men glance at their rifles. Sand doesn't play nice with firearms, or with minds steeped in cheap stimulants. Historians still argue whether ice merchants ever reached these latitudes before refrigeration. You're busy counting the flask's journey, 11 hands, 34 finger smudges, 1 suspicious dent from where it fell off a smuggler's camel. The theologian recites a 9th century poem about frost jinns. His breath mists. Dawn's first smear pales the eastern dunes. Cold evaporates faster than camaraderie. The flask circles again, now just tepid brew in a leaky jar. That initial chill lingers, though, in your marrow, under fingernails, behind the addict's bloodshot stare. Even the scribe's pen hesitates, ink blooming into accidental snowflakes on his ledger. Note to self, he mumbles, never drink the lore. His cursive slants westward toward those snow-capped mountains nobody admits seeing. The flask clinks against a tin cup. Bergamot and diesel, truth and myth, shivers in a heat-scorched land. It's always a package deal out here. The last bergamot dregs sting your lips as the first drumbeat staggers into camp, a lone arrhythmic thump that could be your pulse, or maybe your imagination. 3 heartbeats later, it comes again. Deeper, a sound felt through boot soles before it hits eardrums. Wedding party, shrugs the youngest guard. His hand strays to the dagger gifted by some village sweetheart. Heard they dance till dawn up in the karst villages. The addict snorts, only dance I know ends with slit throats. Someone recalls Herodotus wrote about war drums covered in human skin. Mainstream scholarship dismisses it as barbarian tropes. But tell that to your goosebumps. The elder spits, a precise arc landing where firelight meets shadow. Roman legions used brass horns here. Litus, they called them, could signal attack from 8 miles off. His glare dares anyone to fact-check him. Drums multiply. Now a dozen different tempos, some fast as panic, others slow as grave digging. The scribe's pen hovers over his ledger. Do I categorize this as atmospheric disturbance or imminent threat? Nobody laughs. A guard from Edessa claims certain rhythms summon sandstorms. My grandfather's goats stampeded whenever the hills sang. He mimes hooves with calloused hands. Same cadence as this. The theologian mutters about Pharaoh's army and God splitting seas. Coincidences, looking overworked tonight. Check the mules, barks the caravan master. But the animals stand eerily calm, ears pivoting like satellite dishes. Great. Now even pack beasts are part of the conspiracy. The scribe scribbles a note. Drum-induced existential crisis, charge to client. Historians still argue whether these patterns were communication or psychological warfare. You're too busy counting. 7 seconds between bass pulses. 23 high-pitched taps, a syncopation that mimics Morse code if you squint. And maybe inhale some of that suspect pipe smoke. Could be traitors, offers the flirtatious guard, the one who winces at his own optimism. Copper merchants from Kultep use drum signals. The addict mimics his hopeful tone. Could be your mom inviting us for tea. Men chuckle, but rifles get nudged closer. Firelight catches the scribe's ledger margin, a doodle of drums with fangs. Poetic license or prophecy. The caravan master stomps past, trailing curses about musical ambushes. His boot dislodges a stone. It rolls downhill, sounding suspiciously like a tiny snare solo. Dawn's tentative glow bleaches the eastern hills. Drums fade, or maybe you've just gone tone deaf from tension. The theologian examines his prayer beads. Rhythms reveal the drummer's soul. Those were impatient. Impatient for payday, grumbles the caravan master. He checks his pistol's cylinder for the 19th time. Sunlight exposes what night hid fresh scratches on the tea kettle. A drumstick's work. A bored guard's knife. The scribe underlines his earlier note twice. Proofreaders hate this trick. Mules bray as packs get reloaded. Somewhere east, a hawk answers. Or maybe it's the last drum echo, feathered and fading. Your canteen tastes of bergamot and unanswered questions. Standard breakfast flavor out here. Your boot kicks something that rolls with metallic laughter, a coin glinting fire gold. The trader's pouch gapes, disgorging a dozen more into the dust. Roman denarii, their emperor profiles worn smooth by sweaty palms and centuries. Careful, he hisses, though whether about treasure or tripping hazards isn't clear. The scribe plucks one up. Mark Antony's face, sort of. He rubs the coin's edge. Struck after Actium, maybe. Soldiers used these to hire desert guides. Mainstream museums claim denarii funded entire legions, but out here, they're just campfire curiosities. A guard flicks a coin like a gaming token. Spin, wobble, face down. Dead Caesar's bad luck, he tuts. The theologian mutters about Judas. Silver, this isn't improving morale. These bought armies, the trader boasts. His yellowed grin undermines the drama. Now, barely buys a decent shave. He jerks his chin toward the addict picking at a coin's patina. Careful. Some have mercury gilding. Poison seeps through skin. 5 fingers recoil instantly. Laughter erupts, nervous and sharp as the dagger-testing stone. The caravan master huffs. Should we mule this junk or melt it? His thumb traces a coin's grooves. Denarius means 10 asses. Fitting. The scribe chuckles, quill already noting comedic depreciation of assets. Someone recalls Queen Arwa of Yemen paying armies in iron coins. Camels excreted them for weeks after sieges. Historians still argue whether ancient economies preferred metal or barter. Try swapping silk for sheep at a modern gas station. The theologian warms a denarius over flames. Metal's just frozen light. Plato said that. The addict counters. Plato never got pickpocketed by a camel. Firelight dances across a newly exposed coin face. Augustus, Tiberius, time and barter tense, sanded away certainty. The young guard pockets one not for wealth, but proof. Proof he touched something that outlived empires. You watch him weigh mortality against a silver sliver. The caravan master kicks dirt over the spill. Move out. Denarii disappear into boots, amulet pouches, the addict's secret stash. Only shadows remain, and the faintest green shimmer where mercury met flames. Road dust coats your tongue. Tastes like metal and maybe legacy. Somewhere ahead, The real treasure waits, a well that doesn't promise poison. The stars press closer tonight, or maybe the earth shrinks beneath you. That gravid camel's breathing fills the silence between fire pit anecdotes. Her flank heaves, a sand dune about to birth its storm. Men mute their jokes as she noses her swollen belly. Even the addict pauses his pellet counting. You catch the drover murmuring, half prayer, half practical advice. Turn sideways, girl, like threading a needle with your ribs. Her milk-heavy udder sways. One guardsman mimics a midwife's hand motions until the caravan master smacks his shoulder. You'll curse us all. Historians still debate whether desert traders hired obstetricians or just hoped for lucky stars. Someone mentions Herodotus, how Persian couriers valued pregnant camels for their stamina. The theologian scoffs. Herodotus also said ants mine gold. Stick to what's here. Her hoof scrapes a rhythm in the dust, 3 short, 1 long. The drover cocks his head. Learned that from her dam. Means water within 40 steps. You count 42 paces later, a seep spring emerges. Moonlight gilds amniotic fluid pooling beneath her. The men retreat, superstition overriding curiosity. Only the youngest guard stays, sleeves rolled like a surgeon. Saw 50 calves born, he lies. His trembling hands betray him. Her groans deepen, a sound cobbled from creaking ship timbers and breaking lute strings. The caravan master mutters about lost travel time. Someone else quotes an old verse, patience nails its feet to the camel's pace. A contraction ripples her hide. The drover unwraps a silver spoon tarnished, possibly looted from a bishop's tomb. First milk cures night blindness, he insists, though it's straining credibility. Her water breaks proper now, pattering like a hurried barter. The men argue over protective talismans. A Byzantine coin gets buried head down. A dried scorpion gets burned. The addict offers his last pellet, rejected. Labor crescendos, muscles tense like drawn bowstrings. Someone hums a birthing chant in Armenian, or maybe Georgian. No one asks. You taste blood, realize you've bitten your cheek. The foal slips out wrapped in a caul, translucent as preserved lime pulp. Silence. Then the dam's rough tongue licks life into wet fur. Twins, the scribe whispers. No, just one, legs folded like a swaddled prince. The men exhale collective relief. 2 wood meant drought, or so the drover's grandmother claimed. The foal's first breath sinks with the call to prayer. Coincidence, you think? The theologian scribbles in his margin, divine ventriloquism. Meanwhile, the dam nickers, a sound suspiciously like laughter. Someone brews licorice root tea, the postpartum tonic smelling of anise and obligation. The foal wobbles upright, knees buckling under cosmic ambition. Its shadow stretches to meet the retreating stars. The addict strokes its fuzzy hump. Name it, the drover shakes his head. Only if it survives the week. Harsh, but you recall the ledger's column. Infant camel losses, 17 this season. Light leaks over the horizon. Men remount, avoiding the damp patch where life announced itself. The dam walks swifter now, though the foal's gait resembles a drunk philosopher. You pocket a call fragment, slippery and vaguely contractual. The scribe eyes you, but keeps quiet. Ahead, the pregnant horizon stretches, endless and inevitable. The salt comes first, crusted on the parchment, like crystallized tears. You recognize the handwriting before the boy does those looping alephs, half melted by Aegean humidity. His hands shake, untying the hemp cord. From my sister. Firelight carves gullies in his sunburned cheeks as he reads. Dearest Hacken, he falters at betrothal, his mouth shaping silent vowels. The caravan master glances up from patching a water skin. Spit it out, pup. We've all got dead relatives. The boy mispronounces epidemic as epidemic. A guardsman snorts into his tea. City folk words. Means everyone's screwed. Historians still argue whether peasant literacy rates topped 5%, but you're counting this kid as an outlier. Sea-swept ink bleeds through the fibers. Father took fever in the olive groves. Muharrem's son offers 4 goats. The Qadi says, wind ruffles the page, a dry chuckle from the desert. You catch phrases between gusts. Mastic resin harvest failed. Mother's eyes worsen. Demetrios the tax collector. The boy's voice fractures like sun-baked clay. His finger traces a salt-stained margin where his sister sketched a grapevine, each leaf trembling under imaginary rain. A proper betrothal contract needs 12 witnesses. The scribe stretches his inky fingers toward the fire. Unless she's been dipping into the wedding wine early. Laughter fades when the boy mentions funeral spices. An older guard mutters about Venetian couriers using honey-sealed envelopes. Seagulls won't peck through that. Quirky tidbit, though you suspect he's confusing diplomacy with beekeeping. The addict offers to trade hemp cords for the letter's wax seal. Denied. Ghosts spill from the parchment. A stillborn sibling named for a saint. Debts measured in fig cakes. The boy misreads psoriasis as Persian rheosis. Skin pep, the wind pounces. A leonine gust, snatching the letter mid-syllable. 6 men lunge fingers grazing stiffened paper as it cartwheels into darkness. Sand rasps against flattened reeds. The scribe shrugs. Winged messengers reclaim their own. Silence stretches taut as a merchant scales. Someone throws more tamarisk twigs on the fire. The boy squints at the stars, lips moving through unread lines. You remember Byzantine soldiers bribing postal riders to lose inconvenient letters. She signed it with a thumbprint. His voice cracks, equal parts pride and despair. The caravan master grunts, better than those Athenian fools carving proposals on oyster shells. Someone mentions Sappho's poetry surviving on pottery shards, but the theologian drowns him out with a nose whistle. The addict finds solace in symmetry. Wind took my mother's last letter too, and my dog. His grin reveals poppy seed-stained teeth. Dog came back, though, Letter smelled of hyena piss. Dawn finger paints the horizon when the boy speaks again. Her dowry chest had bronze handles. He mimes the shape, a rectangle wider than his arms can stretch. Fingers brush invisible carvings. Griffins, or maybe roosters. You wake later to muffled scraping, the boy etching words into his saddlebag with a buckle nail. Olive, fever, betrothal. His tongue pokes through chapped lips, a child's concentration, immortalizing loss in warped leather. The wind's theft hangs unmentioned. But as the caravan lurches forward, you notice guards tucking letters deeper into tunics. One kisses a creased page before sealing it with candle wax, an imperfect shield against the desert's hungry breath. Your breath hangs visible, a first since leaving the Aegean coast. Pre-dawn chill etches ice feathers on the Marlik pack horse's whiskers. A guard rubs his beard, crystals shatter into the waning firelight. Snow, he rasps, pointing at dunes glinting like crushed mica. The caravan master spits chickpea paste onto the sand. Your eyes betray what your mother swore was a virgin birth. Laughter ripples, nervous eddies in the cold. 3 men pass a steaming bladder. The liquid smells of sour cherries and regrets. Someone kicks a saddlebag. Remember those Roman traders last winter. Their hemp cloaks could freeze solid and still bend. Mainstream fact legionnaires in Cappadocia, indeed, wove frost-resistant fibers, but your teeth chatter agreement anyway. The hallucination herb's aftertaste lingers from third watch. I once saw ice scorpions dancing on a vizier's grave, slurs the addict. His pupils still swallow torchlight whole. A younger guard licks a rock, regrets it immediately. Bedouin trackers red frost patterns like star maps, offers the scribe, blowing on inkless fingers. Quirky tidbit, though you've only heard this from a spice merchant who also sold mermaid tears. The theologian mutters about jinns stealing summer's heat. Dawn hesitates behind the hills. A mule's water trough grows a glassy skin. Men huddle over it, breath creating phantom ripples. Like the frozen sea beyond Muscovy, whispers a guard who's never ventured north of Antioch. The caravan master produces a clay flask. Drink. It'll make you see warmer things. The liquid burns worse than salt in a wound. Historians still argue whether Byzantine snow wine contained actual snow or just opium residue. Tonight's batch argues for both. Someone thumps the youngest guard's back. Careful that frost'll freeze your balls solid. A pause. Unless they're pea-sized already. Forced guffaws scatter jackals prowling the ridge. You notice 7 men surreptitiously adjusting their layers. The addict sketches shapes in the hardening mud. Frost writing lasts longer than ink. His fingertip bleeds blue with cold. My sister's name, her name was. The frost swallows each letter before completion. Dawn fractures the eastern sky, a cracked egg of pallid light. Guards kick ice from boot treads, complaining of Persian winters and cheap Turkish felt. The scribe finds frost feathers clinging to his ledger. Interest rates, he declares, look prettier this way. Wool blankets crackle when stood up. A prayer rug snaps in half frozen goat milk, stiffening its fibers. The caravan master eyes the addict's frost-etched drawings. Best wash that off before it thaws. Some memories. The sentence hangs like a frozen cloud. By first light, the frost retreats, leaving only damp betrayal. Beards drip. Pack saddles reek of wet wolf fur. The guard who saw snow now insists it was salt dust. No one corrects him. The caravan moves eastward, each step squelching reminders of the desert's cold confession. The well's stone lip wears rope grooves deeper than your regrets. Each scar a decade's worth of thirst. 9 generations of leather buckets have kissed this rim. If the caravan master's counting's true, you half expect the water to taste of blistered palms. Instead, it's tamarisk bark and oxidized iron. Drink slow, warns the scribe, watching your grimace. Mainstream fact, Persian engineers built these desert wells with spiral ramps for maintenance access. Not that anyone's maintained this relic since the Ottomans rerouted the Silk Roads. A guard drops his water skin. It hits the damp stones with a clang older than his grandfather's bones. The caravan master runs a thumb along the grooves. These marks there, not from buckets alone. Ever hear of the siege of 7 thieves? He waits for the shudder he knows won't come. 16th century bandits lowered men head first to lick moisture from cracks. Their fingernails left these accents, a beat. Or so says a drunk in Cognac. You sip again. The aftertaste suggests something drowned here long ago. Maybe hopes. Maybe a Mission tax collector. Local herders still swear the water cures lovesickness, though only if drunk backward from a donkey's hoofprint. Quirky tidbit, but considering the herbalist selling those pellets earlier, you're not volunteering to test it. Rope fibers sting your palms as you haul up the bucket. The water swirls opaquely like liquid onyx in the midday glare. A guard spits into the depths. 10 heartbeats pass before the well answers, with a wet, disapproving smack. Heard they found a Frankish crusader's armor down there once, offers the lute player, tuning a string to match the wind's whine. Breastplate fused to his ribs by rust. Historians still argue whether the rope grooves mark lunar cycles or desperate grips during sieges. The theologian mutters about hubris and wells that dream. 3 men debate filtering methods, crushed juniper, charcoal, a woman's silk veil worn during conception. The addict opts for speed, drinking deep. You watch his throat convulse like a hooked fish. Tastes like, he blinks, like a blacksmith's kiss. Shadows lengthen. Ants spiral the well's rim, tiny sentries drawn to mineral traces. The caravan master snorts. 50 years back, a Frenchman tried bottling this sludge. Called it liquefied Byzantine soul, turned vinegar within a week. He flicks a pebble into the darkness. A distant splash echoes like a lidless eye winking. Dust devils dance beyond the well's shadow. The scribe catalogs cracks in the masonry. Each fracture gets a poetic name. This one's the widow's first gray hair. That one, a sultan's broken promise. His finger hesitates over a deep gouge. Ah, price of pepper in 1623. Twilight repaints the well in bruised purples. Bats emerge, not drinking, just skimming the surface to check their reflection. A guard swears he sees crusader faces ripple below. Another mocks him, until the addict whispers, their lips are moving. 3 men retreat to recount their sins elsewhere. By nightfall, the water's chill seeps into your hip bones. Someone's hung a camel bone charm above the rim, warding off, well, ghouls. You recall Bedouin tales of enchanted springs that answer questions in vapor. This one just hisses up at the stars, a tea kettle left too long on the fire. The caravan master fills his flask last. Water remembers, he grumbles, securing the stopper. This batch recalls Ottoman tax collectors. And never mind. You notice him avoiding his reflection as he drinks. Morning finds the well abandoned again. A greenish patina blooms where spilled droplets dried. Far north, storm clouds swallow the horizon, the kind that birth flash floods and rewrite maps. But here, the rope sways gently, grooves deepen by a hair's width. Somewhere below, the water shifts, patient as a scribe adding diacriticals to an unsent letter. Firelight carves hollows in the men's faces as the theologian stirs the embers with a charred stick. His shadow becomes a swaying giant on the dunes, all bunched shoulders and heretical gestures. Consider this, he begins, voice softer than camel hooves on salt flats. If God shaped sandstorms, perhaps jinns finger paint those green ripples above. A guard spits into the fire. It hisses like a gossiper caught mid-whisper. You count 7 stars through the smoke haze, each flickering like a dismissed idea. The addict mumbles something about Byzantine weather vanes, mainstream fact, those bronze roosters that turned with desert winds in old Hattusa. His words dissolve into coughs. Sand scours your knuckles, tiny meteorites of a bone-dry sky. Auroras in Anatolia. Scoffs the caravan master, knife scraping mud from his boot. Your head's fuller than a sheik's privy. But the theologian persists, fingers sketching shapes in the air. Persian star charts mention the silk curtains of dawn's cold sister. Ali ibn Saul's journals describe 3 guards stand abruptly, wooden bowls clattering. One mutters about checking the pregnant camel. Another pretends to inventory his belt buckles. Only the scribe remains, quill poised like a held breath. In 1286, he offers, Mamluk astronomers recorded crimson skies during a solar storm. Historians still argue whether desert air magnifies such lights, or if opium enhances vision. The theologian's eyes catch the fire, pupils swallowing the flames whole. He leans closer, reeking of fermented goat milk and unresolved ambition. Bedouin salt traders swore jinns battle their nightly, their clashing scimitars, sparking celestial fires. His thumbnail traces a crescent on your wrist. They say wind tastes different afterward, like burnt honey and envy. A cold gust ruffles the tents, canvas flaps become gasping mouths. The remaining guards huddle deeper into goat hair blankets. Someone mentions the Ottoman rainbringers, eccentric 17th century mystics who danced with copper rods to attract storms. Quirky tidbit, but the caravan master growls. Those fools got struck by lightning mid-jig. Poetic, really. Silence stretches taut as a bowstring. The theologian withdraws a palm-sized astrolabe, its brass edges worn smooth by desperate thumbs. This plotted courses through stars and through arguments. He spins the reedy, shadow-latticing his face. 5 centuries back, a Sufi poet mapped the auroras as love letters between desert and sky, burned as a heretic, but his verses still hitchhike on caravans. Wind-borne sand rasps against the coffee pot, a sound like erased parchment. The addict laughs abruptly, a jagged noise. Saw green ripples once near Cappadocia, or maybe just moldy bread. He licks his lips, chapped skin catching firelight. Tasted like licking a copper coin underwater. The scribe's quill hovers. Some scholars claim rare desert frost reflects northern lights. Others say it's mass delirium from drinking bad well water. His glance flicks to the theologian's astrolabe. 19th century French colonists tried bottling electrical desert essence. Here died, twitching in their tents. Dawn's first knife edge grazes the horizon. Men stir, fumbling for prayer mats and excuses. The theologian pockets his astrolabe, its final click echoing through the silence. No need to fear the lights, he murmurs, fingertips brushing your sleeve. Fear those who claim to own their meaning. His shadow retreats, stitching itself back into the trembling dark, fire reduced to glowing ribs. You find a half-scorched date pit in the ashes, its surface etched with tiny, unspeakable sigils. The wind shifts, carrying a whistle from the karst hills. Not a nightingale, but something mimicking one poorly. The scribe's last entry gleams wet. Question to the void. Can heresy bloom where no orthodoxy takes root? He blows on the ink, watching the words shudder into permanence. The scribe's ink-stained fingers freeze as a shadow rips across the firelight. A peregrine falcon's talons gleaming like Damascus steel. Its target twists midair, a nightjar whose wings beat the dark into panicked ripples. You duck as feather dust rains into your tea, the drink now flecked with tiny veins of bad luck. Ottoman sultans kept 500 falconers, mutters the hunter, mainstream fact, while pocketing a striped feather. His thumb rubs the quill's base, trained them to strike enemy messenger pigeons. Though maimed I's favorite killed a vizier by accident. The nightjar escapes, barely leaving one tail, feather spinning into the embers. Someone snorts. That's not an omen, it's Tuesday. But the caravan's youngest guard stares at his cup tea leaves clinging to the feather like supplicants. Grandmother said nightjars carry souls between worlds, catch their plumage mid-fight, and you'll marry a hunchback with excellent table manners, interrupts the spice trader. His laugh dies when the hunter slams down a fist, scattering date pits. Anatolian graveyards once brimmed with feather amulets, quirky tidbit, each plucked during aerial duels. They'd stuff in lovers' pillows to bolster certain appetites. Firelight warps the feather's shadow into a scimitar shape. You recall the theologian's astrolabe, its celestial engravings, now hours cold. The scribe scribbles avian conflict as metaphysical currency, 3 dirhams per gram. His smirk suggests sleep deprivation. The hunter spits. Naturalists still argue whether nightjars battle over territory or just hate each other's stupid faces. He tests the feather's edge against his thumb, drawing a bead of blood. Good fletching material. Silent flight better for hunting tax collectors. A gust swirls the fire smoke into spiral glyphs. The addict mumbles something about cursed feathers in Byzantine court records. Just ask Alexios Komnenos. His head lolls, shoulder denting the sand. Dawn shivers in the east, still pale as unsteeped tea. The nightjar's distant cry taunts the falcon, or perhaps mocks your dwindling caffeine reserves. The hunter repockets his prize. Bad omen, he repeats winking, as he kicks dust over the fire's corpse. Somewhere beyond the dunes, a donkey brays its disapproval. You pluck the feather from your cup, its barbs clinging like desperate fingers. The scribe snatches it for his ledger, impaling the page where he'd drawn a woman's eye. Now she weeps quill-tipped tears. Wind carries the nightjar's final churring note, a sound like 2 stones grinding grudges. As constellations retreat, you wonder if stars also brawl over celestial real estate, and who collects their fallen plumes. The addict's knuckles whiten around his fig cluster, syrupy, paste gluing fingers together in sugary defiance. You catch the glint of a bitter pellet caught in his molar, black as a scorpion's heart. His pupils dilate, swallowing the campfire's glow, until his irises become twin eclipses. Turkish opium caravans used mulberry molasses to hide shipments, murmurs the spice trader, mainstream fact, while side-eyeing the addict's snack. Ottoman customs agents once confiscated 300 fig cakes, all oozing red sap by noon. The addict grins, a crescent moon of sticky defiance. Dunes shift beyond the firelight, serpentine shadows undulating under the weight of silence. Someone passes a waterskin he declines with a shudder. Figs cleanse the palate. He slurs, rubbing crystallized sap from his beard. Ask any Byzantine tax collector. A hiss cuts the dark. That's not Zainab's fig preserve. The cook points his ladle accusatory as a rifle barrel. Where's the date stamp, the tamper seal? The addict pockets the remaining paste, pellet crunching like old bone. Persian pharmacists baked dream pills into wedding sweets. He counters, quirky tidbit, toothless gums flashing. Cyrus the Great's troops gobbled before sacking Lydia, made the screams sound melodic. Fire pops, startling the scribe. His ledger flutters open to a page smeared with fig pulp ink and fructose, forming Rorschach hellscapes. You note a half-drawn camel, or maybe a pregnant scorpion. Historians still argue whether the Silk Road ran on spice or sedation. The theologian fans himself with a sock, doubtful odor wafting. Though I've never seen a muleteer write poetry sober. The addict's head lolls, neck tendons strumming invisible strings. When he blinks, his eyelids stick like parchment. Alexandrian smugglers soaked wrappers in vinegar, threw off-scent hounds. His chuckle curdles into a cough. Dogs just licked the packages clean. A sand viper slides past his boot, unnoticed. Skyward, the Milky Way unravels, a threadbare tapestry patched with obsidian. Someone snickers. Next he'll say the stars are opium vapors. The addict doesn't hear. His hands sculpt air, molding phantom bricks. Mithridates built vaults of poppy resin taller than Babel. The syllables crumble like mud brick. Romans burned it. Smoke made their elephants weep. Cookfire embers mirror his pulsating pupils, dilated voids swallowing photons whole. The scribe's quill hovers, capturing nothing. Some truths resist ink. Dawn's first breeze stirs the dunes, waves frozen mid-crest. The addict's stash sits heavy in his sash, fig paste lumps masquerading as sustenance. God wrapped poison in fruit, he tells a scorpion on his knee. We're just returning the favor. Somewhere far off, a donkey brays. Nearer, the theologian mutters about Sufi parables involving fermented apricots. The addict's chin meets his chest, fig remnants gluing beard to tunic. Shadows pool beneath him, black and hungry as a merchant's ledger. His final pellet dissolves behind sealed lips, a bitter sun swallowed by the dark. The dunes resume their languid sway, patient as executioners. You count 11 heartbeats before the snoring starts rhythmic as a caravan crossing hell's drawbridge. A nightjar's cry pierces the hush, mocking or mournful, nobody agrees. The hunter flicks a date pit at the addict's boot. No reaction. Moravian missionaries wrote that opium steals souls through the liver, he muses. Guess someone left his unlocked. The scribe finally inks a phrase. Kingdoms fall, bakeries endure. He smiles, sleep-deprived wisdom glazing his eyes. The fire collapses into itself, a dying star, imitating the addict's breath. Warm fig sap trickles into the addict's sleeve, clotting sand into ruby-tinged scales. His dreams, should they come, will taste of vinegar and forgotten vaults, and the impossible weight of feathers. The knife gleams dully in firelight, its pitted blade catching shadows like old scars. You crouch beside the scouts, smelling metal and their sun-baked sweat. 36 days, growls the one with a thrice-broken nose. His thumb grinds the stained edge, rust flaking like dried blood. Roman sentries used vinegar to clean blades after executions. He mutters, mainstream fact, spittle hitting the steel. Soured metal keeps ghosts away. His rival, a bow-legged Armenian, snorts. My grandmother's ladle had more battle scars. He tilts the blade toward the embers, oxidized streaks blooming burgundy in the heat. That's not gore, just bad Persian steel. Their forges temper metal with urine, makes it weep rot. Someone tosses a walnut into the fire. It cracks sharp as a musket shot. Both scouts jump knife, clattering onto goat hide. The theologian licks his finger, draws a squiggle in the air. Tartessian traders believed rust was divine makeup. They powdered blades to dye bridal veils, thought it prevented barrenness. His smirk stretches, quirky tidbit, yellowed teeth glinting. A young guard inches closer, nose almost brushing the steel. But if it's blood, whose? His voice quivers, matching the desert wind's whine. The caravan hasn't seen bandits since crossing the Cilician gates. 47 men memorialized in ledgerbook margins. A broken nose jabs the Armenian's ribs. Some spice merchant's thumb, knowing your bartering skills. Laughter ripples tense as a too-tight lute string. The knife spins, hilt worn smooth by forgotten palms. You notice faint engravings, maybe Cyrillic, or just scratch marks from a drunken whetstone. Ottoman Korlu depots catalogued 34 blood-stained weapons in 1826. Muses the scribe inking his pinky to test the stain. The mark smears ochre, not the blackened crimson of gore. He sniffs, flinches, though none reeked of pickled turnips. The Armenian throws up his hands. It's rust, you superstitious gazelles. I'll prove it. He grabs the blade, licks the stain. Silence. Tastes like salt. And typhoid, coughs the theologian. Broken nose roars, a sound halfway between laughter and rage. Now you've joined the ledger. Add idiot poisoned by Kurdish metallurgy in your fancy script. The Armenian spits thrice, each globule landing on a scorpion. Historians still argue whether ancient curved blades were weapons or olive harvest tools. He wipes his tongue on a date sack, grimacing. Trial by consumption says, agricultural implement. Mirth erupts, walnut shell sharpness, dissolving into wheezes and shoulder slaps. The knife gets kicked into the sand, forgotten as a winter's dream. Someone produces a skin of sour goat's milk, passed clockwise to disinfect the lick wound. Your own throat burns when the drink reaches you, tangy betrayal, masked as medicine. Above, the indifferent stars. Ahead, the road's patient teeth. Behind, the addict's slack, jaw-pooling fig sap onto a smuggler's discarded map. The scribe sketches the knife's stain, a Rorschach blot labeled possible blood or bad dinner. His chuckle stirs the addict's sleep. Najaf's pawnshops sold blood-rusted blades as holy relics, 3 dinars per scratch. He dips his quill, ink mingling with spit. Martyrs' markups increase tenfold during drought years. Broken nose retrieves the blade, digs grime from his thumbnail. Greek armorers added rust to shield polish, made soldiers look battle-hardened. He buffs his dagger's hilt, prideful glint in his eye. Spartan recruiters flunked anyone with unscuffed sandals. Dawn's first blush creeps, peach-hued fingers brushing the eastern dunes. The debate fades with the stars, unresolved as most midnight quarrels. The knife gets sheathed, its true history buried under layers of salt spit. and the caravan's collective need for comic relief. You pocket a rust flake, crumbling it between thumb and forefinger. It stains your skin the color of dried pomegranate seeds or very old wine. The Armenian catches your gaze, winks. Rub it on your boots, he stage whispers, protects against scorpion stings and uglier wives. The last laugh hangs in the air, brittle and bright, as men cinch saddles and douse the fire. 36 days dissolve into 37. Somewhere ahead, rust or blood waits, behind only the knife's ghost and the scribe's footnote. Questionable blade, contents disputed. Wind sweeps the stain from your palm, carrying it toward the addict's fig-sticky dreams. His snores hitch, a sound almost like words. You choose to hear watermelon, but it's probably just another unpaid debt to the sand. The scribe's reed pen scratches across moon-washed parchment, 3 jars of danewort, 2 silver bridles, 9 yards of linen that never found a buyer. His ink pot reflects twin half-moons, one celestial, one terrestrial. You catch the musk of fermented oak gall, medieval Europe's preferred preservative for official records, mainstream fact, as bitter as the smell. Drawing her again, murmurs the theologian, staring at ledger margins. The scribe's thumb smudges a sketched ayat's lashes, looping like caravan routes. Umayyad tax collectors, illustrated debtors' faces beside sums owed. He deflects. Quirky tidbit delivered too quickly. A drunk guard squints at the parchment. That's no debtor, she's winking. You romantic old, the reed pen stabs. 10 yards of black felt, he announces, louder, burying the portrait under inventory. Men shift, knowing better than to court a scribe's revenge. Missing mules become sturdy pack animals in official logs. Stolen silks soften into redistributed lunar tribute. Moonlight bleeds through the vellum, exposing erased entries beneath. You glimpse 37 dinars owed to Yusuf, the mutilated, now just a grease stain. Ottoman court scribes used pumice stone to rewrite history, mainstream fact with jagged edges. A nightjar's cry makes the scribe jerk, inkblot swallowing the R in danewort. Danu's wort, mutters the theologian, touching the blotted word. Pagans brewed it to repel serpents, until Christians claimed it erased sinful memories. His grin sharpens, funny how faiths steal herbs and wives. The scribe's shoulders tighten. This batch treated saddle sores on the pasha's favorite mare. He flicks a beetle off the page, its trajectory mirrored by his escaping quill. Historians still argue whether marginalia in trading ledgers represent secret codes or lonely men's doodles. Silence stretches, then splinters into the Armenian's snort, code for my hands cramping, and I miss my catamite. Laughter erupts, stifled when the scribe stands. Parchment curls like a dying scorpion. Men pretend sudden interest in bootlaces, half-heard proverbs about never mocking the chronicler who tracks your water rations. You lean closer to the ledger. Those sketched eyes multiply, appearing between line items. Left pupils spark with cross-hatched light, right ones drown in shadow. The linen merchant's entry sports a third eyelid, slightly asymmetrical. Dura Europo's ledgers featured similar motifs, whispers the theologian, now sober. Documents burned by Sassanids in 256 AD, except charcoal, preserved the scribe's lover's face under layers of ash. He traces a marginal curve, carbons more faithful than ink. The scribe slams the ledger shut, strap leather sighing. We're down to 19 waterskins. His glance cuts to the addict's fig-stained lips. Some should have been fasting. Campfire gossip claims the scribe's wife fled with a minaret painter, but ledgers never verify rumors. His only provable vice, wasting good vellum on Cyclops women. Dawn taints the horizon pale as erased ink. The scribe repacks his kit, careful to keep marginal eyes hidden. The Armenian accidentally spills goat milk across the ledger's cover, blurring yesterday's sins into Rorschach stains. Men mount up stealing glances at that forbidden book. It sways from the scribe's saddlebag, threadbare pages, whispering louder than the addict's fig-addled prophecies. You catch a final glimpse during the midday glare, a sketched pupil peeking through inventory lists. It stares eastward, where unbartered secrets and 3 jars of Danewort await. The theologian rides beside you, humming a Kurdish lullaby about ink-stained widows. When the scribe coughs, upholding his right to chronicle the deserts, lies the caravan, instinctively slows. 50 men hold their breath. 50 men know which truths get preserved. The ledger's clasp clicks open, a sound sharper than scimitar whetstones. Reed pen scratches resume. The guard's calloused palms hover above the opium tray, as if warming themselves at a ghost fire. You smell bergamot and burnt honey. The dream merchant's fingers stained yellow from Zatar smuggling. Name your currency, he rasps, mainstream historical fact. Ottomans taxed opium dens more than brothels. Winter, croaks the guard. His belt buckle jingles Roman coins, antique bribery for modern sins. The merchant swirls vapors into a hookah's glass belly. 43 seconds of childhood snow for 9 summers in Trebizond. The guard's voice cracks on the Black Sea port's name. You catch the reek of fig pulp dissolving memory-altering pellets. Quirky tidbit. Medieval Islamic texts describe snow as the Quran's frozen vowels. Opium smoke coils into a dervish whirl. The guard inhales, blinking at sudden frost on his lashes. You glimpse a snowball fight with faceless siblings, crumbling citadel walls. A pine branch shedding icy lace. His mother's voice comes warped. Remember the wolves before the vision snags. The merchant produces a clay token. Second tier. Smell reinforces memory. You catch alpine air trapped in Sinai pink salt, hyphenated clarity, saving the sentence from sibilance. The guard licks it, eyes widening, cheekbones stinging, sled runners screeching. Dawn's first light bleaches the sky. Final tier, tactile recall. The merchant presses a snow hair pelt to the guard's neck, user-safe replacement for fur clusters. Fireworks of forgotten neurons erupt, a sled overturning, laughter echoing across frozen ravines, coal stove warmth kissing numb fingers. Is this your childhood? Whispers the theologian, materializing like a guilt apparition. The guard clutches the pelt. Mine now. But sunrise accelerates. Opium dens love punctual clients. The merchant packs his haze tools. Historians still argue whether Persian wonderomancers traded actual memories or just skilled counterfeit. His donkey brays at the hyphenated compound adjective. You notice discrepancies. The guards, Trebizond Summers, included a shipwrecked Venetian glassblower chronicled in 1420. His traded memory shows date palms instead of juniper trees. The theologian sucks his teeth. Even jinns plagiarize. The guard stumbles toward his camel, snow memory already unraveling. Dawn devours visions like blotting paper. By first prayer call, he'll mistake the hair pelt for a birthmark, salt token for a kidney stone. Next client, sing-songs the merchant. His tray now holds cherry pits and a lock of Nebuchadnezzar-era hair. Quirky inventory, only dream traffickers stockpile. The addict approaches, offering his firstborn's laughter in exchange for anything that isn't sand. Your fingers itch with phantom snowmelt, trapped between the guard's lost truth and the merchant's artful forgeries. The ledger keeper mutters nearby. Embezzlement via hallucinations must adjust the receipts. As mirages of alpine springs ripple across the dunes, when the guard finally sleeps at midday, his snores contain the exact pitch of a Trebizond market bell. No one hears it. No one remembers to listen. The lute's third string snaps, twanging like a gutted locust. Everyone jumps, except the blind muleteer. Welcome to the underworld, he croaks laugh-coughed dust, clouding his ashen beard. You watch the musician pluck the remaining 6 strings, testing their loyalty. His calluses shine wet in the firelight, mainstream historical fact. Anatolian lyre players used fermented apricot paste to harden fingertips. Each note quivers like mirage water, the ballad about Persephone's abduction, unraveling at verse 7. Like our root, the musician mutters. Silence thickens. A guard fingers his dagger's crescent guard, thinking of wives left mid-conversation. Historians still argue whether ancient caravan songs mapped real trade routes or just improvised gossip. Someone tosses a date pit into the fire. Finish it in clicks, they suggest, quirky tidbit. Certain desert tribes drummed messages with pebbles in empty camel stomachs. The musician glares, tuning his instrument with a jackal's rib bone. Moonlight glints off the broken string's copper core. You glimpse Phoenician glyphs etched near the bridge, water-damaged symbols warning against music in lunar eclipse. Too late, the 7th verse hangs unresolved. Persephone, forever reaching for pomegranate seeds just beyond the fretboard. The theologian clears his throat. In Euripides' lost play, she escapes using a lyre string, as Euripides never herded goats through Kurdish mountains, interrupts the lute player. He retunes the sixth string down a quarter tone, creating dissonance that prickles your molars. 3 guards start harmonizing, a raspy rendition of a Smyrna dockside chanty. Their voices fray on the high notes, threadbare as the camp's last coffee filter. The muleteer claps offbeat, synchronized with distant rockfalls in the Taurus peaks. Someone whispers that broken lute strings foretell camel miscarriages. No one confirms this. The pregnant camel chews her cud eyes, reflecting twin campfires, where the musician now burns the snapped string. Acrid smoke smells suspiciously of burnt hair. Dawn arrives as a smear of moldy yogurt on the horizon. The lute gets packed away, its missing string coiled like a silver nematode in the case lining. The musician trades his jackalbone tuning key for a flask of raki, forced hyphenation, avoiding sibilant cluster. You notice his thumb keeps twitching phantom motions of that unfinished cadence. As the caravan lurches forward, the theologian mutters, "Unplayed music attracts shadow eaters." He points to coyote tracks circling last night's camp, each paw print shaped like a flattened musical rest. The next oasis boasts a bazaar selling peacock feather plectrums and cobra skin drumheads. The musician lingers at a stall offering authentic Orpheus strings, sold by a one-eyed vendor, quoting Virgil in drunken coin Greek. He buys nothing. By third watch, his lute case vibrates with the ghost of that missing 7th verse. You press your ear to the leather, hearing faint olive leaves rustling in Hades' non-existent breeze. The guard who traded his snow memories snores in perfect a minor. When jackals howl at midnight, their cries form the ballad's missing lyrics. No one writes them down. The eastern horizon bleaches parchment pale, your 20th false dawn since moonfall. Rifles click like restive crickets as men unbreech and rebreech barrels. An Ottoman sentry would have used portable sundials, mainstream historical fact. But your guards track time through eyelid twitches and bladder pressure. There, someone hisses. 53 heads snap east. Just a sand fox vaulting over a salt crust, its shadow stretching into a false sunrise. 3 men reload anyway. Their powder horns glint like chastity pendants, quirky tidbit. Certain desert clans believed gunpowder prevented nocturnal emissions. The theologian licks a thumb to test wind direction. Rhodes, Colossus once cast morning shadows this deceptive, he muses. No one remembers which war felled that statue. Hands wipe sleep grit from triggers, blinking at what might be dawn. Or just a rogue welder's spark from distant Adna. A jackal's howl fractures the tension. 4th watch is gone dyslexic, quips the Sardis-born guard, naming each false dawn after Greek tragedies. Agamemnon's revenge faded an hour ago. Now we're deep in the Baki's hangover. His jest wilts like unwatered mint. You count 18 cigarette butts in the sand, each stamped with lip marks angrier than the last. The philosopher guard insists nicotine stains help camouflage teeth from vampires. Someone retorts that his wife left him for a Damascus dentist. Fire pits exhale charcoal breath, mocking the horizon's meager glow. Dawn's 23rd fakeout arrives via mirage, a heat-warped strip of light that mimics daybreak's gold. 17 rifles get dryer cleaned. Historians still argue whether Persian dawn signals used coded prism arrays or just drunk sentries misreporting comet trails. A teenage guard starts humming Wagner until his sergeant chucks a common pod at his temple. The muses fled this caravan at Payam Pass, growls the tea master. His samovar wheezes in agreement, boiling the same leaves since midnight. Westward dunes ripple, suddenly glazed with amber light. Heads whip around. Just a mirror trap set for jerboas. Quirky tidbit. Dorton tribes once weaponized reflective stones to blind Assyrian charioteers. The youngest guard whimpers. His conscription papers still smell of his mother's rosewater. When true dawn finally stokes the sky's forge, saffron bleeding into bad dental gold, no one reacts. The theologian mutters about Cairo street lamps burning longer under Saladin. The Sardis guard lights cigarette 19, filter crimped like a disappointed pupil. Rifles get slung across backs with rehearsed apathy. Metal cools against cotton tunics, steam rising where sweat meets gun oil. 5 men surreptitiously adjust groin cloths, eternal debate about powder's anti-lust properties, now academic in daylight. The horizon solidifies, a reality as blunt as a tax collector's ledger. You spot vultures spiral riding thermals where dawn's first lice shimmered. Their wings make no sound, feathers frayed from applauding so many fraudulent sunrises. Someone coughs up a gob of resentment, brown as Turkish coffee grounds. The theologian pockets it, quirky tidbit. Medieval alchemists paid premium for caravan saliva, seasoned with longing. The samovar finally dies, its last burp echoing inside the musician's abandoned lute case. Eastward, the actual sun vaults over the Taurus peaks. It finds 19 men already trudging west, their shadows stretching backward like accusatory fingers. Rifles stay slung, per the code unspoken dawn's 100th lie, still gets a 75th truth's courtesy reload. Your boots meet the salt crust with a sound like celery, snapped in church crisp, sacrilegious, and weirdly satisfying. The plain stretches into forever, a petri dish for the gods. Each step splinters your reflection into 100 salt-bleached doubles, weathered faces staring up like delegates from uglier timelines. We're walking on clouds, croaks the tea master, his samovars strapped to a mule, sloshing rhythmic taunts at his dehydration. Someone hacks up a laugh. It skitters across the flats like a kicked bullet casing. The Sardis-born guard taps his canteen, a dribble left. Roman roads had mile markers, he rasps. Here, just salt devils judging your life choices. Ghostly sodium crystals crest the horizon, twisting into finger-bone shapes when you blink. A teenage guard licks the ground, instantly recoiling. Tastes like Lot's wife got pickled. His tongue swells, a grotesque orchid. The theologian mutters about Sodom's real sin being poor brine ratios. You spot carvings in a salt spire, 8-pointed stars, and crescent moons. Ottoman tax symbols, says the trader. Quirky tidbit. Salt inspectors once carried parrot feathers to detect counterfeit crystals. The wind rewrites the glyphs as you pass. Reflections warp your camel into a 6-legged beast, pupils split like mercury. Better than Damascus mirrors, jokes the musician, his lute warping like Dolly's sleep paralysis demon. No one mentions the hieroglyph that looked like their mother's eyes. Dust devils spin vertical waltzes, plumes of salt glittering like diamond spray. Historians still argue whether Byzantine armies used these flats as signaling planes, heliographs for the semi-literate. Your answer, a coughing fit that salts the air paprika red. The addict crouches tracing a hexagon in the crust. Perfect honeycomb pattern, he slurs. Same as the Hittite well covers near Gordian. You didn't see this. He erases it with a sandal. Shadows stretch wrong here, bent at kneecapping angles. A guard's silhouette becomes a scorpion's tail. Another's hat sprouts ibex horns. The Sardis man drawls. Noon in Hades must look like this, if Hades had unionized mules. Mica deposits flare, sudden starbursts that scar your retinas. You recall Venetian traders hauling salt blocks on sledges, mainstream historical fact. But here, it's just labor carved into your kidneys. A mule falters hooves caked in salt like cursed sugar cubes. Don't urinate here, warns the tea master. The Katara depression myth, P summons salt ghouls. The theologian corrects him. That's sodium chloride psychosis described in Ibn Sina's canon. Both watch the youngest guard zip up with trembling hands. Your teeth feel like they're wearing salt sweaters. The trader offers a peppercorn, clove smuggling's happier cousin. Crunching it, you taste Zanzibar monsoons and Portuguese carracks, briefly. Then it's back to existential chalk. A fossilized ripple mark catches your eye, 3-million-year-old wave frozen mid-crash. Mediterranean waters once kissed here, says the addict. Now the sea's just a rumor with better PR. The theologian pockets a shard, future bargaining chip for doubters. Dizziness hits like a drunken comet. The horizon wobbles salt and sky eloping. Focus on the vultures, advises the Sardis guard. Guaranteed they're circling something that's not a metaphor. The birds smirk as they carve spirals in the blear. Someone hums a song about Aegean salt harvesters. Sea shanty meets dental drill. It dies when the trader's ledger blows open pages, fluttering like smuggled butterflies. His entries blur. Saffron bitumen regrets priced per ounce. The samovar finally implodes, a geyser of lukewarm regret. The tea master keens, a sound salt shouldn't muffle, but does. The theologian offers his saliva colony coffee grounds as condolence. Vision blurs into impressionist mush. Each guard becomes a smudged charcoal sketch, edges dissolving. That's the Barku, rasps the trader, desert mirage, where men crumble into salt. You pray it's not the 23rd false, dawn's encore. Sunset arrives with no fanfare, just the sky dimming like a bedside lamp. Stars pierce the salt crust, doubled, tripled, infinity mirrored. Someone sobs at the beauty. Another chucks a boot at the weeping. It shatters a salt pillar into biblical dust. You lie down, crystals crackling beneath your skull like Rice Krispies in milk. The addict whispers. Ankaras salt caves hold letters to dead lovers, rolled in lead tubes. His breath smells of fig paste and oblivion. Dawn, when it truly comes, stains the flats peach gold, revealing a graffiti scrawl in Armenian script. Kurth Agshig, good girl. The theologian claims it's a love note. The addict swears it's a salt brand's trademark. You rise, every joint popping like bubble wrap. Reflections stitch your face back together, crackler patina and all. The Sardis guard lights a cigarette off the sun. One man's hell, he exhales, another's margarita rim. The caravan moves west, bootprints already filling with newborn crystals. Behind you, salt ghouls chatter in the rising heat. Or maybe it's just the samovar's ghost, still bitter about its last brew. The air reeks of pomegranate molasses and pettiness. The cook's hands blackened from accidentally charring every last flatbread. You tear off a corner. The crust fractures like volcanic glass, innards raw as a politician's promise. Sun's hotter than my second wife's temper, he croons, stirring a cauldron of lentil sludge. Mainstream historical fact. Roman legions near Ephesus survived on similar loaves called military bricks for their structural integrity. This batch could have stopped Hannibal's elephants mid-charge. Nervous laughter skulks around the fire. The Sardis guard pokes his bread. It clinks against his dagger. Generals use these as breastplates in the afterlife. He deadpans. A teenager chuckles, then chokes on a carbonized shard. Quirky tidbit. Anatolian bakers once added pulverized salt crystals to honey for cursed sweetness. A practice banned after 3 wedding guests petrified mid-dance. The theologian eyes his plate warily, muttering about Lot's wife's culinary legacy. Eat, barks the cook knife, gleaming with reflected schadenfreude. Historians still argue whether Byzantine siege engineers used scorched bread as shrapnel. But your molars vote yes. The musician attempts a goodwill tune. His lute strings snap in protest. Someone dares to mention the cook's wife, her alleged dalliance with a spice merchant. The ladle freezes mid-scoop. Lentils drizzle into the fire, hissing like deflated egos. 32 men suddenly find their bootlaces fascinating. You force down a bite, burnt cumin, and regret fuse into a new taste sensation. It's the culinary equivalent of finding a scorpion in your bedroll. The addict whispers. Chew sideways prevents jaw lock. His technique works, if by works you mean mashes despair into a swallowable paste. The trader produces a secret date stash, only slightly moldy. Guards swarm him like vultures on a tax collector. The cook watches, flinty smirk carving canyons into his face. Firelight conspires with shadows to make his scar twitch like a captive centipede. Moonlight betrays the bread's true horror up close. It resembles a topographical map of Tartarus. The Sardis guard lobs his piece at the dark. A jackal yelps. The theologian wagers it's the first recorded case of canine heartburn. Dawn arrives, coyote ugly and salt-streaked. The cook whistles while dismantling his station, each clang of pots a petty victory fanfare. His revenge complete, he offers the last unburnt thing, a clay jar of figs. No one takes one. Silence falls thicker than a pharaoh's tomb curtain, until the Cappadocian guard belly crawls to the dune's crest. You watch him press his ear to the sand, a human stethoscope hunting the desert's pulse. Mainstream historical fact: Hittite engineers built subterranean water channels called khurasani, stone veins humming with secrets for 3 millennia. But tonight, different vibrations. Laughter, he hisses sand sticking to his stubble like quartz glitter. Iron chariot wheels, a market's clamor. His eyes reflect starlight and mania. The theologian fumbles for his prayer beads, counts 73 before muttering. Scholars still argue whether Sardis fall echoed in aqueduct acoustics. You lay your cheek against the earth. Cold seeps through skin, ancient chill preserved in strata. For a breath, nothing. Then pressure behind your temples. Not sound memory. Buried Smyrna's amphory clinking like wine-fueled ghosts. Quirky tidbit: Persian couriers allegedly sent messages through aligned rock formations, tapping codes that made sandstone sing. Modern experiments just got headaches and scorpion bites. The guard scrambles up, boots kicking grit into your eyes. They're racing horses down there. Armored ones. His dagger points at nothing. The addict giggles, cheeks full of whatever makes reality optional. Someone throws a water skin. It misses. Moon paints the dunes mercury silver. You try again, palm flat on the ground. Wind dies mid-whisper. A vibration crests, then the sand shifts. Not earthquake rough, rhythmic. Like a blacksmith's hammer on bronze, the Sardis veteran freezes. That's siege engines. Ottoman era, maybe older. Laughter bubbles up sharp and foreign. Not yours, not anyone's. The theologian's beard quivers. Historians still debate whether Roman legionnaires stationed here heard phantom gladius clashes before battles. His voice cracks on gladius. The trader's hands hover over his coin pouch, as if wealth wards off madness. You stand too fast, the world tilts. Stars smear into phosphorescent streaks. For a heartbeat, the desert floor glows faint green. Pliny, the elder, described similar phenomena, claimed dying cities exhaled foxfire breaths. Quirky tidbit: 14th century, Tamerlane allegedly used buried brass plates to amplify his army's noise, scaring enemies into surrender. Archaeologists found 9 but his chronicles mention 90. The guard's gone full conspiracy now, carving trenches with his scabbard. They're right beneath us. Dig. His frenzy infects 3 others. Fingers claw at the sand, a human Antlian pit. You half expect a skeletal hand to burst up waving a tax receipt. Dawn bleeds horizonward. The addict plucks at your sleeve. Hear the flutes. You don't. But his pupils swirl like nautilus shells, hypnotic spirals, suggesting he's decoding cosmic static. The Sardis vet mutters about Troy's walls playing Hector's death song when touched. Mainstream historical fact. The Parisian Pantheon's dome amplifies whispers to roars. But that's 7 centuries too young for this desolation. A shriek cuts the cold, youngest guard recoils from his hole. Blood, he shows his palm. The theologian licks it spits. Rusted iron oxide. Ancient nails maybe. Relief lasts 2 seconds. From the pit's depth comes a clang, like a bronze mirror hitting marble. Diggers freeze. The sound repeats, muffled but metallic. Even the wind holds its breath. You're half tempted to yell room service, but survival instincts prevail. The theologian prays in 4 languages. The traders counting coins, denarius to drachma conversions, to calm his nerves. You pocket a rusty nail shard, souvenir, or future weapon. Undecided, the addicts reciting nursery rhymes backwards. Sand trickles into the hole patient and eternal. Whatever or whoever made that noise isn't rushing. Smart. Dawn's first proper rays hit the dunes. The world burns gold. Shadows retreat, and with them, the subterranean murmurs. They'll return tomorrow night, whispers the Cappadocian. No one asks who they are. Your fingernails grit with reddish dust, part iron oxide, part indecipherable past. The caravan moves out, steering wide of the depression. 4 men keep glancing back. 3 miles east, the Sardis vet finds a coin in his boot, Byzantine, profile worn to a ghost smirk. Payment, he jokes, but his thumb rubs the edge all morning. You walk lighter, as if the desert might notice your weight and swallow you whole. Above, vultures sketch lazy spirals. Their shadows keep merging with ones you can't name. The linguist chokes mid-sentence, spitting black fig pulp onto his precious lexicon. You catch the book before sand claims it, calfskin pages whispering against your palms. Mainstream historical fact. The Rosetta Stone's clay cousin lies beneath Alexandria's harbor. But this leather-bound relic smells of myrrh and mortal sweat. His fingers scrabble for your wrist nails, leaving lunar crescents. Huzzen, he rasps. You lean closer. Not Saudata, not Heimweh. Each syllable costs him blood-flecked breath. The Sardis veteran presses a water skin to those cracked lips too late. The theologian mouths silent verbs over the corpse. Night guards your vigil. Someone strings leather thongs through the dictionary's binding, hangs it from a camel's saddle like a shaman's charm. Quirky tidbit. 12th century Egyptian love spells used crushed beetle shells as ink. Your thumb finds a stain iridescent green where no pigment exists. Burn it, hisses the addict. His pupils eat the firelight ravenous. Words outlive their speakers, becomes curses. The trader fingers his coin pouch, calculating black market prices for dead languages. You flip to page 93. Find sketches of mating scorpions. Dawn licks the eastern dunes. The Cappadocian mutters about Constantinople's forbidden libraries, how certain lexicons made monks bleed from their ears. Historians still argue whether Sumerian cuneiform holds untranslatable terms for colors humans stopped seeing millennia ago. The theologian claims Adam's true name warps clay tablets, but he's also been sipping sacramental wine since sunrise. Debate crescendos, sword hilts slapped, camel reins snapped. You cradle the book like a stillborn child, its spine cracks open to Huzzin. The ache of holding time's shrapnel in your veins. Poetry, or a deathbed fever dream. The trader wins, coins clink, palms grease. You watch his mule become a mobile tomb for dead words. As days blur, writers swear the dictionary's weight changes, heavy as a sarcophagus one morning, light as papyrus the next. Nightfall brings uneasy laughter. The Sardis vet points to stars reflected in the mule's eyes. 2 celestial archives now. Someone jokes about engraving epitaphs on melon rinds. Even the addict pauses his backwards nursery rhymes, just long enough to shudder. You catch the theologian whispering to the book during moonlit piss breaks. Once, he mentions Eleusinian mystery rites, how initiates drank ergot-laced brews to read between reality's lines. His hands tremor as he reties the leather thongs. By the third dawn, the mule balks, refuses to bear its cargo. The trader kicks dust. Possessed, he declares, then pales, realizing his own words. You volunteer to carry the lexicon, regretted within hours. Pages stick to your sweat, imprinting forearms with inscrutable symbols. The scribe copies a phrase onto his ration bag, collapses 2 miles later, babbling in reversed Greek. His reed pen snaps mid-word. That night, guards bury the torn scrap with him, a linguistic shroud. Your dreams curdle. Cities rise from the sand, speaking in uvular clicks and glottal stops. A shadow spells Huzzin with your spine's vertebrae. You wake clutching sand, half expecting it to form syllabic shapes. The theologian finds you at first light. Alexander's scribes wrote contracts in triplicate earth, water, and air. His beard twitches. Burn it, but maybe keep the ashes in, you're already striking flint. Pages curl like dying moths. Letters bleed smoke, forming a vortex above the flames. Everyone swears they see different shapes. The addict weeps at beautiful spider leg script, while the trader screams about burning drachmas. Wind scavenges the last ashes. Silence follows, thick and sticky. The Cappadocian coughs. Well, at least we won't be haunted by verb conjugations. 3 men laugh too loud. 4 don't sleep for days. Caravan myths calcify by week's end. Some claim the mule's foal will speak Akkadian. Others place bets on the addict's newfound silence. You find a single survivor charred H fragment in your boot heel. It pulses, or maybe that's your blistered foot. You walk lighter now, not from absolution, but the quiet terror of vacant niches where ancient words once nested. Fire-gutted and word-starved, the caravan becomes a procession of half-size. You cradle blistered palms, still smelling of scorched verbs. The Sardis vet breaks first, voice gritted like millstones. Stole my brother's bride price, left him weeping in a Lycian olive grove. No one gasps. The theologian scratches his neck raw whispers of poisoning a rival philosopher with Socrates's hemlock recipe. Stars drip molten silver overhead, eternal scribes taking dictation. A muleteer chuckles wetly. Bastard son in Ephesus teaches rhetoric now. His thumb rubs an amulet shaped like Ishtar's lion, patina worn smooth by retroactive guilt. Mainstream historical fact. Persian couriers nailed confession scrolls to Zoroastrian sky temples. But your crew favors immediacy over divine bureaucracy. The addict's confession comes syrup slow, a stolen childhood icon from Ravenna's mosaics. Mary's gold tiles, pawned for opium in Thessaloniki. His shaking hands mimic tesserae patterns on the sand. Quirky tidbit. Byzantine nuns once used lute strings as prayer-counting aids, until the church deemed it too sensual. Silence stretches taut as a composite bow. Then the trader mutters about strangled competitors in Kashgar's bazaars. Silk makes excellent garrots. He muses, fingering a sample, as if testing tensile strength. The theologian counters with an aristocrat drowned in Aristotle's bathwater, details suspiciously gleaned from playwright satires. Abandoned twin girls at a Memphis well, blurts the Cappadocian words clattering like dropped javelins. His helmet's cheek guard hides tear tracks, mostly. Historians still argue whether Roman confession trees near military camps inspired later penitential rites. You privately suspect campfire smoke does better work than any priest. Laughter erupts, nervous and sharp, when the scribe admits to forging mercenary contracts. Added a demonic possession, clause void, if ghosts spoke Phoenician. The Sardis vet hoots, recalling a recruit who tried invoking that clause during dysentery bouts. Your turn. Tongue heavy as a codex lead seal. What spills out? That stolen kiss with the spice merchant's spouse, her cinnamon-smeared lips mapping your treason. Or the gladiator nephew left chained in a looted villa. Stars blink, judgment adjourned. Confessions coagulate into the night. Stolen temple offerings, falsified horoscopes. A concubine swapped for 20 Thessalian stallions. The theologian claims he invented 3 heresies just to watch patriarchs sweat. Even the CAMELS Chinese letter their sins, spitting froth that reeks of piloted water holes. Dawn's first indigo streak silences the purge. Men avoid each other's eyes, ashamed not of their deeds, but the relief in sharing them. The traitor kicks sand over the dead fire, half burying a Roman aureus stamped with Nero's profile. You pocket it, a tarnished souvenir. As the caravan groans into motion, constellations fade like erased parchment. The Sardis vet rides beside you, suddenly sheepish. That brother paid his bride price double later. He hesitates. He still doesn't know. Sunlight bleaches the road ahead. Secrets nest in your ribs lighter now, yet sharper edged. Somewhere, a starved lexicon's ghost whispers, Husin, noun. The weight of unshared shadows. You touch the coin in your pocket, still warm from its grave. Fires gutter out. The caravan exhales wood smoke and dawn's first blush. You stamp numb feet, sand clinging like powdered regret. Saffron light bleeds eastward the road, flexing its amber muscles. A guard kicks the dead fire, scattering tea leaves that skitter-scritch across stone. Read those, scoffs the Sardis vet, but everyone's done divining truths for one night. Dawn here doesn't creep, it slams down like a gavel. Historians still argue whether Anatolian saffron merchants invented sunset taxes or just perfected the grift. Your nostrils flare, air ripe, with last night's bergamot and this morning's raw promise. Mainstream historical fact: Persian satraps paid troops in saffron threads until soldiers kept sneezing their pay into the wind. A muleteer ties his bedroll, knots tighter than a tax collector's smile. Roads hungry, he mutters, eyeing the horizon's jagged grin. Quirky tidbit: old caravan guards swore tea leaves stuck in boot soles predicted mileage. You've got 3 clinging to your left heel, shaped like arrowheads. Optimism is cheap before breakfast. The theologian rubs his neck scar. Dawn vigils murdered more philosophers than hemlock. His donkey disagrees, braying at a vulture circling yesterday's confession-scorched earth. Someone's discarded penitent's coin winks underfoot Nero, face half melted. You pocket it, a tarnished thank you from the universe. Breeze plucks at salt-stained saddlebags. Tea dregs swirl into alien alphabets, the desert's last gossip. That one's Cappadocian for blistered feet, jokes the scribe. His ink-stained fingers tremble. But nobody mentions last night's forged contracts. Forgiveness smells like burnt time and moving targets. Sun punches through a wisp of cloud, the sky now brass bright and businesslike. 50 paces out, shadows shrink like cowards. The trader cinches his money belt, silk garrots coiled inside. Roads clear, lies the scout, while scanning for rust-colored stains on distant rocks. Your camel groans upright, knees popping like cedar kindling. Someone hums that seaside lullaby again, off-key and defiant. You check your boot. 1 tea leaf remains. It resembles a broken lyre. Artistic criticism, snorts the Sardis vet, spitting a date pit at your shadow. Hooves crunch grit, the rhythm section of this never-ending symphony. Dawn's heat already warps the air, mirage puddles glittering like dropped denarii. The addict yawns, pupils shrinking from opium nightmares into daylight's glare. Which horizon's real? He slurs. Nobody answers. Questions are contraband at this hour. Last night's confessions cling like scarab husks, brittle but sharp-edged. You squint westward, where the scribe swears he saw salt-flat ghosts. All that greets you is a hawk stooping, its shadow stitching desert to sky. The theologian murmurs Ezekiel, or maybe just curses under his breath. Saffron light thickens, air sticky as fig jam. A waterskin passes, warm and leather sweat pungent. You drink dust anyway. Somewhere ahead, 9 generations of camel piss and ambition have etched the trade root deeper than riverbeds. Your toes blister inside boots, each step a negotiation. The horizon shimmers, false promises in heat haze. A young guard adjusts his turban, fabric frayed where confession tears fell. His dagger hilt glints rhythmically, compulsively, against his thigh. You wonder if his sister's betrothal letter survived last night's wind. Noon looms, a drunk executioner measuring the neck of shadows. But for now, the road exhales. Tea leaves map nothing. Secrets bake into irrelevance. Somewhere behind, a vulture gorges on discarded truths. Ahead, only the next step, and the next, and the fires fade to embers, ash settling like gray velvet on cooling stones. Your breath sinks with the caravan's drowsy sway, boots whispering through sand, polished smooth by dawn. A muleteer hums fragments of a lullaby, notes dissolving into heat-tripled air. The Sardis veteran squints westward, face carved into leather by decades of squinting at horizons. Tea leaves lie, he grumbles, but his voice lacks its usual edge. Sunlight pools in the hollows between dunes, molten gold spilled by a careless hand. The theologian's donkey nibbles brittle grass, its jaws working patiently, endlessly, as if chewing time itself. You uncurl your fist. The melted coin nestles, their Nero's smirk softened to a stranger's drowsy grin. Forgiveness, perhaps, or indifference. A breeze riffles the scribe's discarded parchments, ink blots blooming into phantom cartographies. No one remarks on the torn contracts. The desert swallows words faster than secrets. Your remaining tea leaf, that fractured lyre, clings to your heel like a sobriquet. Let it stay. Shadows contract, huddling beneath rocks and worn saddle blankets. The scout leans on his spear, eyes half shuttered against the glare chest, rising in rhythm with the addict's ragged snores. Even vultures grow still, wings spread like cloaks hung to dry. Someone offers a waterskin, warm and faintly tasting of apricots. You drink slowly, savoring the grit. Camel bells chime monotonous reassurance, a lullaby for feet too tired to ache. The young guard's dagger stops its restless tapping. His tears, your blisters, last night's confessions, all blur into the road's patient cadence. A hawk glides, stitching sky to sand with seamless sweeps. No ghosts, no answers, just the scribe's burnt time lingering in your nostrils, and somewhere ahead, a well where voices pool in cool, silent echoes. Your eyelids grow heavy, not from sleep, but from the weight of light pressing the world flat. The caravan stretches, a smudged line of gray and ochre, into the wavering distance. Step and step and step, the road breathes, you breathe with it. Even the wind stills now, holding its breath, as the horizon softens to a sigh.